Welcome back, everybody. It is time for round 2 of the Pirelli World Challenge GTS Championship presented by Kasich here at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by Kasich. This is the second day of racing for the GTS machinery around this very challenging, albeit beautiful street circuit here down on the peninsula that makes St. Petersburg, Florida. I'm Greg Creamer, joined by Calvin Fish alongside. And Calvin, we saw a pretty entertaining race that unfolded in round 1 yesterday, anticipating more of the same today. And I'll tell you what, you look at the front of this grid, the players up there, if everybody keeps healthy in terms of machinery, it should be spectacular.
It really should, and big question mark is going to be if Ford can get 6 consecutive victories here on the streets of St. Pete. Andrew Arcolani will start the race from the pole position, but Jade Buford was really quick yesterday to line up alongside Lawson Oshibak from the pole, runner-up yesterday. Looking at the big picture, he knows that Andrew and Jade are really not in the mix for the full season, right. So he got big points and a great start to his campaign.
I'll tell you, somebody they're going to need to keep an eye out for in yesterday's race. He started back in the pack, finished 8th, but turned the 5th fastest lap. Jason Bell in that all-black Racer's Edge Sin R1 GT4. I talked to him a little bit earlier today, and I said, looked like in that last third of the race, we made the comment on the broadcast, I said, boy, you came alive. And he went, yeah. He said, I finally started to feel good. And he said, you know what did it? He said, I grazed the wall. And I went, all right, either you suck it up and get after it here, or you let that get to you. And he said, it just came to me. It felt good, and I went after it.
So it was all in his head. There was nothing about the car that he had to figure out. And that's what it's all about around these street circuits, about confidence. You got to have the car working, certainly, but confidence and then that commitment factor. And if you do that, that makes a huge difference on the stopwatch.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a mind game, especially when you're dealing with these concrete canyons. I mean, it'll get into your head, won't it?
Oh, it's very intimidating. And if you have a bobble and you suddenly don't feel the car's quite right under braking or something on the exit of a corner and you're giving it up, suddenly someone's going to take advantage of it and get a run on you. So it's super critical. I think we saw a great race yesterday. I expect more of the same. There's a few changes technically to the cars overnight to try and even things up and an even playing field regarding the balance of performance. We'll have to see how that shakes out. So like the first day here, it was a new racetrack, yeah, and actually somewhat different race cars today as well with the changes.
Absolutely, and of course the SRO who does the balancing for GT4, they did the GT3 balancing, the GT4 came next, and it's just been a little late in the going, and so some of these cars they hadn't really had a chance to see and look at. So we kind of expected that, didn't we, coming into this weekend, that for this class in particular they'd be tweaking it a little bit.
Yeah, I think so, and I think when we reflect back on last year, Greg, there were so many new brands coming into this GTS class that it was really hard to put together, but we saw phenomenal racing, really even playing field, and the times yesterday were very close between the different manufacturers. So we'll see what they do. Hopefully they didn't go too far over the line with any of them, and everyone will be competitive today and put on a great show.
Yeah, I mean, it was close yesterday, but there were some cars that definitely had issues here and there, and I think that it's wise to try and address it. You don't want somebody to come in and because of an unfavorable BOP, balance of performance, leave way down in the points and chasing, and so that's nice to see. The interesting thing here with Buford got Parker Chase, who was very, very fast yesterday, then had a mechanical issue. It was a lambda sensor that went wrong, and it was they obviously couldn't solve it during the race. Turned the 4th quickest lap. He's going to have a free run. Remember, this race is a standing start. If he can nail it, he's got an opportunity here.
He really does, and he'll be a little bit frustrated because he is very much in the mix yesterday. Had those problems with the car that kept shutting the engine down essentially, and just cost him big points. So, but the good news is with these double headers, you can rebound the next day. I'm sure he's looking for great things, and as you said, new ball game today with the standing start.
Yeah, that can certainly affect things. Had a chat with Frankie Montecalvo, and he said one of the BOP changes that had been made was a rev limit in each gear, and he said then they changed turn 3, which before that was actually a great one for the crossbow because you could really roll speed through it, and he said it got us right in between gears, and he said that hurt huge, and so if that was adjusted a little bit, you could see those crossbows come alive too.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone uses very different gear ratios, and the crossbow is actually 3rd gear through there, but just outside the rev range in terms of peaking out, so he had to use 4th gear, didn't have the acceleration, and that's a critical corner, that turn 3. It really hurt him yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely, and you could see just some of the beautiful imagery. And the nice thing with this track is that wasn't shot somewhere else and is being rolled in. That's a live shot right next to the track. It is absolutely beautiful down here, no question. While we're waiting for the start command, Cal, it's some interesting storylines that can unfold here. One of them, when you take a look at it for keys to the race, Ford 5-6.
Well, they've got such a roll going here, the Ford Mustang. 5 wins in a row with the victory here yesterday for Andrew Aquilante. The car is well suited. It can really use those curbs, and that's a big advantage, particularly in that critical turn 3 and through that fast chicane there through 11 and 12. So he's got a great car. He's very confident, and he'd like to make a clean sweep, and we're not sure how much longer we're going to see that Mustang in competition here in this class with the new GT4 car available to competitors. So it'd be a great way to go out.
Applied science.
Well, yesterday, after qualifying, like on Thursday evening, they made the change to the racetrack. So the guys yesterday were seeing it for the very first time with that new turn 3. Andrew certainly got used to it and accustomed to it very well. His car was working well. For the other teams, they may realize we were at a disadvantage there. Have they been able to make some changes to the setup on the race car to make it better for race 2?
Yeah, and the third one is big picture points.
Well, Lawson Archenbach, we talked about it. He's so savvy. That's why he's won so many championships, 4 in Pirelli World Challenge, and he knows that the guys he was around yesterday on the podium should not be here for the full season. You can never take that for granted because things change quickly in racing, particularly with some good results. Maybe one of those guys can turn a good result yesterday into a full season campaign, but that was a great start for him in that GT4 Camaro.
Yeah, it absolutely was impressive. I mean, you know, considering that he was on pole too, you know, for that car for the roll-up, but we've seen that before with the folks from Pratt & Miller that did the build on the GT4 homologation car. Pretty savvy bunch. There's a look at the front of the grid, and so we're anticipating getting the start command in short order. All right, get word now that we are within a minute of the command to get this one going. We are sure looking forward to this second round of the championship. And again, it's a little bit of an unknown with those post-race BOP changes, but certainly always keep things that keeps things a bit interesting. And we'll be enjoying that for sure. And we know these guys are going to put on one heck of a show. And again, confirm Buford will have to start from pit lane. And you know, the car's got speed. Jade certainly is an incredibly quick driver. But boy, he's going to have to work some magic to come up through the field. So with that, let's throw it down to the front of the grid and a great friend of this series, Pirelli's Rafael Navarro. And there's the command, and the field comes to life. We are ready to go racing here for round 2, once again, of the Pirelli World Challenge GTS Championship presented by Case-It. Great to have them on board for a season-long support role here in this series. And you see that beautiful white Cadillac ATS VR back once again as the official safety car of the Pirelli World Challenge. And it will lead this field around on one installation lap where they will then come around, take up their positions, and we will be underway with a first standing start of the season. Pretty amped about that one, Cal.
Absolutely. It's really been a tradition of World Challenge competition over the years, and now we just do it. Due to these new GT4, GT3 cars and the different clutch assemblies and everything, it was pretty hard on the equipment. And with traction control, it's a little bit of a different scenario anyway, but always great to see it here in the race 2 for GTS competition.
Yeah, we have some new drivers and we have some new cars, and watching them do practice starts to get all of that figured out is pretty impressive here, watching them work through it here. But the field now setting out on that installation lap. There goes Aquilani, there goes Aschenbach, the 4-time champ, Parker Chase in the Ginetta, and the rest of this great field making its way around. And before we step away for a quick break, we want to, of course, say another big thanks to Cadillac. The Escalade, their beautiful Escalade, is back as the official medical rapid response vehicle for the championship. Problem there for Bill Ziegler, and that Escalade is sitting right behind it, as it always does, making sure that the field gets away safely. And with that, we're going to get away for just a moment, but believe me, we will be back to St. Petersburg, round 2 of GTS for the season coming up. All right, folks, of course, you're eavesdropping right now as we are building our CBS Sports Network show. Glad to have all of you with us here on our global web stream. And this is going to happen throughout the course of this event. We're going to have some layouts on occasion while we're talking to producers while we're in break and the like. When we do, we're going to keep the Nat sound up as the term that they use, the natural sound, so you'll be able to enjoy the glory of these cars here in the Pirelli World Challenge GTS Championship, which is really the way racing should be. So you can enjoy it here when we are in break, and that's going to happen a few times, be some long pauses while we're communicating with our producers, etc. But obviously, we're excited about this one getting underway. And again, this installation lap, you got one lap. It's not a pace lap or anything, but the pace car is leading you around as it normally would. Can you learn from this lap very much?
Not a ton, because you don't have tire temperature, so maybe if you have made a slight suspension adjustment, you may want to ride over that curb in turn 3 to see if it's a bit more compliant. What they did yesterday was those 4 extra formation laps behind the pace car. That was really a great thing to do.
The field forming up. The field forming up for the standing start here at the St. Petersburg Grand Prix, presented by K-Sit. Round 2 for the GTS Championship. Pole sitter Andrew Aquilani brings the Phoenix Performance Mustang up to its spot. Want to give you a quick look at our quad box, and once again, these Replay XD cameras are going to give you some great views. Here's just a sampling of what you'll be able to enjoy here as we go racing, and you can see big news, Cal, even bigger news, that big gap for Jade Buford.
Yeah, and unfortunately the Pirelli World Challenge paddock is on the outside of the race circuit, so by getting to the grid late, he can't even make pit lane. He will not see action here today. That's a big disappointment for him, and certainly for the crowd and us watching this race right now.
Yeah, we were really looking forward to that one. Late arriver at the back, and looks like the field is fairly well set. Everybody's clearing the wall, so we should be ready to go racing here in very short order. As always, the red lights come on. When they go out, that means we are underway. You can see the yellow lights on the boards right now. They'll go to red, and then we go racing. There we go. Now, within 3 to 5 seconds, the start will unfold. Revs are up, and there we go. Great start by Aschenbach, as well as Martin Barkey, and that looks like Baptista once again, Cal. He did it with a rolling start. He's got another great start from the standing start, but here comes Barkey. Yeah, Barkey down at the inside. He slots into that 4th position. Tony Gaples there, a little nudge. There was contact there. Oh, Nate Stacey's got involved with Jason Bell. Just too many cars in the same spot at the same time. Tricky funneling effect, as we talked about, down into turn 1.
Wonder if that was as a consequence of the avoidance. Here comes Barkey, very aggressive early. Can't get that, or excuse me, that was Montecalvo who had a superb launch as well.
Yeah, 2 crossbows looking really good.
Really similar.
He said, I need drag position. Yeah, he said, I need drag position. He said, it's hard to race yesterday. Some of these GT4 cars have a little bit more straightaway speed than the crossbow. He said it made it tough and very frustrating. So you're not only adjusting the car, Greg, I think for Frankie Montecalvo, he was adjusting his mindset for the race today.
As the field streams through now, this is a key corner here, turn 10, first time through that curb on the left, very aggressive. You can see it from that angle. If you hit it, you're going to hit that wall, so you got to be very, very careful through there. You'd think it'd be a great overtaking spot, but sometimes just that curb and that wall dissuade you.
That's for sure. Aquilani there taking a really wide line through this final corner. Parker Chase really close. Nice start for Lawson Aschenbach from the pole yesterday. He had the early lead, but had to give it up. And it was a great battle between 2 of the veterans, and Aquilani for the lead yesterday.
We saw Stacy and Bell having that moment. I think that was just they were trying to avoid the contact on the outside of the track and touched as a result, and that sent them the other way. Everybody continued, but a few drivers, particularly Gaples, who had a tremendous start, lost a lot of ground as a result.
He did. Tony had a tremendous start. Looked like he was going to be in a position to be in the top 5 or 6 exiting turn 1. Didn't quite work out that way. Baptista, as we mentioned, had a good start. He's now been bumped back to the 6th position. There he is, being chased by Gottsacker right now. Yep. Gaples, Mantella, Clennon round out the top 10.
You know, you were talking about Montecalvo's mindset. One of the things is, you know, the other guys that are racing these crossbows have a season of racing. First time he got behind the wheel of the car was the test session here Thursday afternoon. So, I mean, his learning curve's got to be near vertical relative to the car.
That's right. He said, where I've got speed, I can't pass. So he said, I need the track position. He said, down the straightaways, we're certainly hurting. But there were a number of adjustments made to the majority of the cars last night, other than the Porsche Cayman, to try and equalize this field a little bit. We'll have to see once things settle down here, how they look in terms of lap times.
Well, Mantella's certainly looking a lot racier earlier here than he did yesterday.
and he'll be well pleased with that. There is the new Panos Esperante GT, or Avezzano GT, having a good run.
Ian James behind the wheel had a couple of issues yesterday. A bit of a cooling issue with that Elan prepared engine in that car, LS3 engine essentially. They also had a gearbox problem yesterday, a bit of a split seal, caused some smoking that we saw in the highlights.
And there's a look at Monte Calvo. We were talking about him in that number 13 Ansa Motorsports Crossbow. He is your Optima Batteries best standing start driver, up 4 spots in that opening lap. So great job by Frankie Montecalvo, a former GTA champion.
Yeah, he's a fast learner, won that championship back in 2015, has been a mainstay of the Pirelli World Challenge Championship classes over the years. Great to see him. It's just a one-off right now, but I think he's pretty excited, and he'll be a lot more excited after this start than he had yesterday.
Yeah, and you can see that lead group of 5 has opened up a margin already here, doing a nice job. So clearly they've got some pace over the rest of the field at this point, Cal.
Yeah, Baptista had a great start. I'm not sure if his car got damaged. You see a little bit of bodywork flare out there. That'll be causing a bit of drag down the straightaways. Hopefully he didn't damage the left rear corner as well, which will cause him handling problems. But even so, it was a tremendous start to his campaign here yesterday with that top 5 run.
And look at this, Aquilani looking down to the inside. Does he get it done? No, not enough.
Well, Lawson almost gave him enough time to get it done. He said, are you going to go down the inside or not? He didn't want to create any contact there, so just good, clean driving by these two in the early stages. There's that curve. This is exactly where he made the move yesterday, leaping over that inside curb. Widens the radius of the corner a little bit, gives him more exit speed. Aquilani's like a cut and paste of yesterday, moves to the lead.
He just gets through that so well, so he takes the lead. Chase couldn't quite take advantage of the opening as Lawson wisely closed that up in a hurry. So new leader, it happens to be pole sitter and round 1 winner, Andrew Aquilani, up front here in the Pirelli World Challenge GTS category at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by Kasich. We'll be right back. Aquilani stretching his margin just a little bit here at St. Petersburg in the St. Petersburg Grand Prix, presented by Kasich for the GTS class at the Pirelli World Challenge. And he got to the front there, Cal, and has been able to open it up, not a lot, but a little bit. But boy, right now, Lasse Aschenbach looking in his mirrors, and if you can probably see in just the roof and the wing of that very, very quick Ginetta in the hands of young Parker Chase.
Yeah, and I tell you what, last year we saw some great performances by that Ginetta squad, particularly from young Parker Chase. Didn't quite get the victory that he was looking for, but always on the podium, it seemed. And looking at the car this weekend, it's a lot more settled. I think they've really done their homework during the off-season and got the suspension working a lot better on that car. And right there you can see it's really planted coming off that very critical turn 9 exit.
Still that lead 5 has a bit of a gap. Baptista now sitting in 6th has put a little bit of a margin to Gottsacker, so he's running a little bit by himself at this stage. And then Gaples has worked his way back into 8th. Mantella sits in 9th, and Ian James in the 10th spot as Aquilani through that great corner sequence 11 and 12. Aschenbach up on the curb pretty good there.
Yeah, I think both those cars can really ride the curbs a little bit better than some of the other more stiffly sprung machines. And it's certainly an advantage around this racetrack. It's lovely to see, particularly Andrew, float that left front over that curb there. He knows it, he can feel it, and you're just feeling like the bottom of the tire just kissing that curb, but it allows you to open up the radius a bit more and carry more speed, obviously.
And unfortunately, just to update you on Jason Bell in the black Sin, the number 2, and Nate Stacy in the number 14. Flying Lizard Motorsports, Porsche Cayman Club Sport, MR. They have slipped back to 13th and 14th at this stage because of that moment down in turn 1 when they went evasive to avoid the other contact.
Really tight section of the racetrack right here. I thought for a moment that Lawson wanted to let Andrew by, almost opened the door for him on the previous lap down into turn 1. And I think he's comfortable letting Andrew set the pace here in the early going, but he can't afford to go back up too far because he's got a lot more cars closer to him than he had yesterday, which was really just Jade Buford and Parker Chase. There's a couple of those crossbows looking really strong in the early going. I think the adjustments they got may be helping them in terms of their pace to the rest of the field.
Well, sort of the MO we saw last year relative to, when Lawson Aschenbach and Tony ran the whole season was early in the race. They could be pretty quick, get a gap and everything. And the Ginetta and the crossbow, one, it took those lighter cars a little longer, it seemed, to get heat in the tires. But two, they just stay there and hound them until those bigger, heavier cars would run the tires off. Is that what we're seeing play out here, you think?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, there was definitely a crossover point last year where Lawson could be very strong, then they'd get the tire deck with a heavier car. The lighter cars took time to get that tire temp up, and it was a fascinating seesaw battle in terms of managing that. So Lawson always wanted to be leading, controlling the pace. I think this year he recognizes he's got a stronger car, he's got a bit more straightaway speed to play with this year, and so I think he's going to adjust his philosophy and how he tackles these races accordingly.
That was interesting. Just watched through turn 3 up on the curve. Aquilani used it all. Aschenbach didn't touch it. Chase didn't touch it. Barkey was all over it. So obviously he thinks we can use that and make it work. And Monte Calvo's got to be well pleased right now in that number 13 Ansa Motorsports crossbow. He just set fast race lap at a 121.147 and running a very competitive 5th. That just feels, I think, for him a lot better than things looked yesterday.
Absolutely. You can see it in his driving. He's got a lot more confidence. He's really into a nice rhythm right now. And you talk about Lawson Aschenbach not using those curves. Remember, we saw some cars last year, particularly Nate Stacey, was having a great run. He actually broke the suspension by riding those curves too regularly during the course of the event. So maybe Lawson's got a little bit more to play with there later in the going if he should need some pace to maintain position or go for the lead.
Boy, right now we got 5 cars going for the lead. This is a great little pack here as they head down into turn 1. Then behind them, you see Baptista sitting in 6th in the classic liveried Flying Lizard Motorsports Porsche, just going out of your screen right there, chased by Gottsacker. And then look at this race, and down to the inside, trying to make a move, Ian James in the number 50 Panos Avezzano GT. That is our iBox suspension cam car. And I'll tell you what, around this track, especially for a car in its first ever appearance on a street circuit, they're paying serious attention to what's going on in that wheel well.
They really are, because they need to get this car dialed in quickly. It's only had a couple of shakedown runs at Road Atlanta, brought it here for the first race of the season. They're learning quickly, got some great guys on that squad. Stephen Pfeiffer, long-time crew chief here in Pirelli World Challenge with great successes on board, with Tom Miller Sr. leading the charge there for Don Panos and his whole group. Ian James, he's a great fit for this team in terms of developing this new car. You can see it's working well.
Gaples in 8th in that group, Mantella in 9th, and then the Panos in 10th up front. No change in that top 5 other than Aquilani opening the margin up just a little bit here at St. Petersburg for the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by Kasich. We'll be right back with a lot more from the streets of St. Pete. Stay with us. All right, folks. We got a little bit of a layout here in a CBS Sports Network show, but we have an opportunity to chat with you just a little bit, as all of our business with the producers is pretty well settled. So we're going to get back and take a look at this good battle. And you can see still that Camaro over the crossbow count looks like it's got a little bit of legs here.
Glennon in trouble.
Oh, boy.
Slowing dramatically there down the front straightaway in that 570S.
He's just going to have to pull it off to the inside. Yeah, that looks pretty terminal. That's unfortunate, because one thing he needs is just laps in that car, because got it pretty late in the going, loves it, but said it's so different from what he's driven. That's got to be frustrating. Yeah,
it really is. I mean, you want to come here for the first event of the weekend. There we see major smoke. Hopefully we can get a safety vehicle there quickly. There you see the response team immediately on hand.
Hopefully that's just some overheating and not that's getting darker though, isn't it? They're having a look at it here. Mark climbing out of the car. Talked with the other 570S team and driver, that of course for Global Motorsports Group, George Kurtz, and they said the thing that he's dealing with the most, and of course he ran a different kind of car last year, he said the electronic diff, he said, gives the rear end of that car a hugely different feel, and he said that's what I'm really trying to adjust to.
And it's early days for everyone, and all of these different brands, and particularly with the newer cars, it's what it's all about, adjusting, developing that notebook. The drivers get a feel for what it takes, how to drive it, how to apply the power, how aggressive you can be.
Right. Well, just all of the advanced electronics, obviously, that's a fairly intense thing. And you know, talking to the team, they said that the electronic diff, what that does is helps with push. It's not a traction control thing. They said if it senses the car yawing the wrong way, it'll just drag the brake to get the car to pivot into the turn just a little bit. And pretty interesting technology.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, talk about driver aids.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm pushing towards the wall. Let's just kind of ease on that right or that inside rear brake and to help you through the corner. That's great stuff.
Yeah, it's fun. I think Aquilani's having some fun here. Every time we see him go over those curves, we just, we kind of taken to calling it doing the Aquilani, but he just seems completely dialed into this track. I mean, the car is obviously great, but he just wheels it.
Yeah, he really does. He's got great flair, great car control without abusing the tires, and understands that car so very well.
Yeah, races it a ton. That's very true. He races it in club racing, and I think in the Touring 2 category, races it in Trans Am whenever he can. But their main focus, they do a lot of customer work in club racing, and so that's where they really tend to focus. And that takes some manpower. But I mean, I don't think what he's in 6 or 8 gold medals in his case from the runoffs alone. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, he's an impressive young man, and particularly in terms of his technical savvy.
Yep.
Mechanical engineering ability as well. He brings it all to the table, and he's got great speed behind the wheel. Yeah, that tire squeal through that ultra fast kink and hard on the brakes. Resurfaced down in that area as well since last year.
You see him up that inside wheel completely, even in turn 10 where you don't want to use that curb just a little bit.
Yep.
And that's one of the things that they've said about this car. They said the suspension, you can run it soft and it really is, is compliant. So when it lifts that wheel, he said it just works.
Yes, I mean, you don't want to run it so soft that you don't have the platform control and maintaining the contact patch of the tire. But they just seem to get it right. That's how they run it. And when you come to a circuit like this, it's a distinct advantage over the competition.
Yeah, with such different surfaces on the track and the bumps that you just find on a normal circuit, and then being able to use curbs like that, it's just a great package. The nice thing is in the past, we got a problem here. Jason Bell, who had that moment early and has obviously just been driving as hard and as aggressive as he can to come back up. Looks like he lost it at the exit of 12, Cal.
Yeah, that's a strange place to go off and keep it out of trouble.
Yeah.
In terms of continuing, we saw him yesterday have a couple of close calls, but just really charging hard. And as you mentioned in the pre-race, Greg, just really getting comfortable and finding the limits with this new car for him.
We're getting a report. We have a full course caution here at St. Pete. Be honest, folks, at this stage, I'm not really sure what it's for. Maybe they thought that Bell was not going to be able to get going and was in an impact area. And you wait as long as you think you can, but that's a spot if somebody else, gets it wrong, it could be huge. And so I think they just decided to go. And of course, odds are, oftentimes you go, let's throw the yellow, and then the guy takes off. But once you throw the yellow, you got to commit to it.
Well, it's kind of a blind approach there, as you can see when we just looked at that shot on the approach there too. 11 and 12, and we are just assuming at this point that is the reason for this full course caution.
So, caution here, first one. And believe it or not, this is, to me, is mighty impressive. And I know Jack Baldwin, who is the new sort of series manager for GTS, presented by Kasich, and he said, I'm mighty proud of these boys because up until this caution, they hadn't had one in this class. And the others had it, but official sessions here this weekend, it had been caution-free. So pretty impressive stuff. Here's a look at the 04 of George Kurtz that we were talking about.
Great story. The reason why GMG and James Sofronis are really kind of somewhat forced into running the 570S versus another Porsche Cayman is, he explained to me, essentially I've sold them all. I've got 6 or 7 under my tents in various categories, and sold a further 4 or 5, and basically the allocation that Porsche had built was sold out, and George wanted to come on board, so they said, well, let's look at a different manufacturer and brand to incorporate with the team.
Yeah, absolutely, and the car arrived just a few days before this event. James said we actually had to change the shipping point. Instead of to our shop in California, it came straight to Orlando, and then went to a local shop here with a gentleman that worked on the. If you remember Alec Udell when he had the big hit last year, the same shop that helped get that car sorted out went there, got it all prepped, and made it happen. And so George decided, yeah, let's do that. And of course, carrying CrowdStrike, George is helped co-found that company, which is an industry leader in internet security, and just nice to have it. I know they've got a sizable contingent of people here this weekend, so big hello to everybody from CrowdStrike. And James is pumped about that. Really, Global Motorsports Group is almost unparalleled, doing the driver development deal where they they'll get people. A lot of them come from they just go in because they do a lot of aftermarket performance work on cars, and they'll go to the shop, then they'll get kind of hooked on it, and they'll go to a track day, then they'll say I wouldn't mind racing. And if they're good, one of the things that James, that's why James isn't running, last year didn't run full time and stepped back from GT to GTA. He said I'm spending a lot of time working with these drivers that are coming up through the ranks. And I think last year they said that, at least in North America, they sold more of the Cayman Club Sport cars than any other a dealer, racing-related dealer in the country. It's pretty impressive.
It really is, and it's a great ladder system, because if you think about it, Alec Udell came on board with his team to learn the trade, and now he's coaching customers for James, so it's really that transition period.
Lights on the Caddy ATS VR. So we'll see if they go out and we go back to green. Looks like the field looking a little bit more aggressive and warming things up, but let's see what happens here. It's right in this area generally where the lights would go out.
And the fast lap times, top 7, are all within 0.7 of a second, so the little adjustments they made last evening seem to be working pretty well.
And Aquilani has now taken fast lap. You remember Monte Calvo had it for a while, but now it's at a 121 flat. And that's quicker than they...
yesterday,
yeah, absolutely.
21.4 yesterday. I remember fresh tires for race 2.
Yep.
So race 1 is the...
and a lot more rubber on the track, certainly. And, on a street course where you've got, sharing a venue with another series, you get a lot of different compounds down on the track. But these Pirellis seem to be able to react to whatever's down there pretty well.
They really do. It's a great tire, and I think that's what the drivers love, is that they can run hard throughout the course of these 50-minute sprint races all the way to the checkered flag. And as I think Andrew said, his fast lap, like lap 30-something yesterday, he said that was just unbelievable. He said the grip just kept picking up.
Yeah, it's impressive. There's no question what Pirelli has done. They've been now with the championship for a number of years, but they really continue developing and working on these tires. They get better and better, and I think that's one of the reasons the series has become a big draw. Is not just how it's run and the format and all that, but drivers come here and they go, we love racing these tires.
They do, and that's a big part of it. You want to feel comfortable. You want to have grip. Drivers love straightaway speed and grip. Give them that, they are happy campers.
Yeah, they want it handling well in the straight.
Yes,
as it's been known to say, and grippy in the corner. Welcome back to St. Pete, everybody. Anticipating going green this time. Yes, indeed. While we were in break, we ended up going under caution, and it was for a bit of a moment here from the number 2, Jason Bell, trying to make up some time, Cal. Lost it looked like at the exit of 12. Just tapped the wall.
Yeah, he did, and I think most importantly, it's a blind corner there on the approach, so the stewards wanted to make sure that everyone was safe getting through there, so made the call. settle things down, and we should be ready to go back to racing here pretty quickly.
Yep, lights are out on the Cadillac ATSV pace car, so we are going back to green. And the nice thing is, these Pirellis, you can run them hard, but it gives, everybody got them cooled off just a little bit. And as we take a look at the clock, just about 27 minutes remaining. This is go for it time sprint, and look at that, Aquilani right to the middle of the track, wanting to control his destiny into the VP Racing Fuels acceleration zone. We are back to green. Look at Barkey.
He's got a great run there. He even had to check up a little bit because the front row didn't go, or the front two didn't go. Barkey to the inside of Parker Chase. It's going to be tight on Oschenbach.
Oh, he clips him.
It was really tight. That was nearly a big one. Just got in there super deep, overcommitted a little bit. See the bodywork disappear. That's a shame, but I tell you what, he just avoided taking out Lawson Oschenbach big time. Just clipped the rear end of that Camaro GT4 machine.
Monte Carlo defending on the 69, the Janetta of young Harry Gottsacker, and able to make that hold. That line that Barkey used, he's been using it a lot during racing to dive and really straight line to the apex, and he thought, I think I can make it work, but just a bit too much speed.
Well, the ABS helps you from locking up, but you still don't have the grip because the tires aren't fully up to temperature, so he now goes straight there, trying to make road as we go back to full course yellow.
Yeah, I think 1 is probably for that big piece of bodywork right in the middle of a narrow part of the track, and 3. But now we got a problem here for the Panos as well. Looks like the right rear tire has been cut down, and technically, and the number 9 is Ziegler, has had a moment as well. So now we've heard it before that people will say yellows beget yellows sometimes. There's Anthony Mantella, who was pulled off as well. So suddenly, big issues here. There's the 62, the 570S of Clennon. He pulled off earlier with a mechanical problem, and indeed the caution comes out. Now you can see damage to the back of Lawson's car too.
Yeah, that's where he got clipped by Barkey, and maybe assumed that Mantella and Ian James got together. They're both out in the same corner there with damage certainly to the suspension of the Panos. There you see the rear bumper clip. That could be an issue for Oschenbach in terms of either staying on there or getting black flagged to come and address the situation.
Yeah, so it was a bit more than the bodywork over in 3. We had a lot of stuff. Here's, first of all, a look at the restart again, Cal. Watch Mantella here.
Yeah, he just dives to the inside. He cuts across the rear flank of Parker Chase there. Just can't get it slowed down enough and gets into the right rear corner of Lawson Oschenbach. Then there's the contact between Mantella, Kurtz, and Ian James.
And you can see the Ian James tire already down, so clearly cut by that contact and parked. Boy, I'll tell you, that's a tough deal, that Mantella Autosport team. Certainly Barkey was looking awfully tough, and I think Anthony Mantella himself was coming alive. Now both of those cars are in trouble, at least, if not the one looks like it's out.
Yeah, it's a real shame because there's some quality cars here in this field to not see further action.
And I think it's going to be pretty impressive, just the pace we've seen out of that Panos Avezzano GT. Once they get a few more laps under the belt of that car, I think it's going to be impressive to watch, Cal.
I think the real key with that car is getting it reliable. Do you know what I mean? Being able to get through the race weekends without any issues. Talking to the crew chief there last night, Stefan Pfeiffer, he said, let's just get this car reliable. The performance will come. And they're just addressing a few cooling issues at this point of the game.
Yep, haven't had a whole ton of running. Well, if you're like us, you're big fans of the series and you want to know what's going on, well, there's an easy way to do it, and it's through social media. Now, the first place to go is the Pirelli World Challenge site at world-challenge.com, where you can also get great video content, including links to live broadcasts of these races. You can also go to Facebook. Just search the Pirelli World Challenge Championship fan page, or on Twitter, just look for the handle at WC Racing. And for all things racing, take a moment. It'll be worth a look, and check out Motor Trend On Demand, which includes the archives of all the Pirelli World Challenge races. You can start your free trial at motortrendondemand.com today. So make sure and check it out. And while we're under caution, we're going to step away for a moment. We will be back with a lot more from GTS and the Pirelli World Challenge from St. Pete.
Well, we're going to be in break for CBS Sports Network just a little bit longer, so we're going to come back with you here on the global webcast. Again, just delighted that you're joining us. Remember, tomorrow, folks, here with our global webcast, we have the second round of the GT Championship. It will be carried live on YouTube, so that's where you're going to want to check out and watch round 2 of the GT Championship from the streets of St. Pete tomorrow, live on YouTube. It's in the afternoon, 4-ish, thereabouts, but make sure and check it out. You just got a real good look there at the damage on Aschenbach's car, Cal. That enough to maybe create problems in a straight line?
Yes, certainly. If that kind of flares out and is creating a parachute effect down the front straightaway, certainly it could. I think the bigger issue is if it starts to trail any more, will the stewards make the call? You got to get to pit lane and fix it. Coming down pit lane costs you about 30 seconds plus the time to tear that bodywork away. Fortunately, it looks like half of it's kind of still connected to the chassis.
So it might just be an annoyance more than an issue in terms of safety. That's a good thing. Also, a little damage in the back of Baptista's car there on the left side.
That was on the opening lap, first corner, I believe, when Gables and everyone got together.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, hey, especially at a street course, rubbing is racing.
That's right.
That's how it goes. We're getting a report that we'll be going green next time by, so about halfway around this lap, we're going to lay out and we'll be picking up with our CBS Sports Network coverage. So the order right now, with everything that's evolved, is Aquilani leads over Aschenbach. Parker Chase still third, but Baptista now up into fourth. Monte Calvo still there in fifth. Harry Gottsacker and the team, Ginetta to Parker Chase, sits in the sixth spot, the 69. The 11 of Tony Gaples up to seventh. Nate Stacy, who was involved, if you remember, with Bell in the early going here, and that problem has worked his way now up into eighth. This caution helping him a lot. George Kurtz in the 570S is ninth, the 04, and rounding out your top 10, the number 7 Porsche Cayman Club Sport from Crookspeed of Cameron Majari. And then Cameron Castles sits at 11th, and another of the Porsche Cayman GT4s. Then Bell, but of course we'll see if that car is healthy after tapping the wall. Merzon, Ziegler, then Barkey and Mantella.
Barkey is back, staying on the lead lap. They've looked at the car and said it's okay to keep going, so that's definitely dodging a bullet and maybe grab some points there. There you see him coming through turn 9 on at the back straightaway at the tail end of the field.
Yeah, you just wonder a little bit about the aero of that machine here. Now he's going to have to be mindful of that. So we're going to pause. We'll be right back on CBS Sports. Lights are out on the Cadillac ATS VR. Time to go back to green with just under 20 minutes remaining here at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by KSET for the GTS class of the Pirelli World Challenge, heading into the VP Racing Fuels acceleration zone, and the green comes out nice and early. And it's going to be interesting to see how this settles. And we got that group of 6 running the inside line. Baptista to the outside, Aschenbach to the outside.
Really deep on the brakes there, looks to the outside. Look at Montecalvo down to the inside of Baptista. That was close. Montecalvo is not getting swamped on the straightaways like he was yesterday, so that adjustment has certainly helped the crossbow.
Absolutely. They were really struggling mid-gear in a lot of courses in the corners, so doing a nice job. And how about George Kurtz? You know, like I said, doesn't have a lot of time in this car, and he is starting to find some serious speed and right on the back of Tony Gaples.
See, Stacy is now in the mix after that disastrous opening lap. Didn't have a good opening lap yesterday either, so not the sort of start to his campaign. Making the switch to Flying Lizard Motorsports, got so much talent, but he wanted to come out the box strong, and now he has a chance to rebound here with this reset.
Well, for a young 17-year-old, and I mean just 17 years old, you'd think this could be really mega. Ooh, Monte Calvo looking at Baptista, deciding not quite close enough. You think this could be really, frustrating with a big mind game. He's got a guy named Darren Law that he can turn to, who will give him some really good, info and feedback. Boy, everybody using that curve, but especially those GT4 Camaros and Mustangs.
Look at Montecalvo there. He's got some pace. He can roll some speed through that final corner. Baptista, really showing great racecraft here. The reason is he ran in that Blancpain series last year in Europe. We got 50-car field, so he's used to being in traffic, certainly.
And
really deep.
Wow.
Can he keep it together? Takes it in really deep. He's out in the gray. May just hang on here. As Gottsacker is trying to find a way by Baptista at the same time.
So it worked, yeah. It wasn't necessarily real pretty, but he made it stick.
He was committed.
Yeah, he was definitely committed. The 80 of Barkey will now be getting a drive-through. He had to wait till they go green for the contact that he had with that. Now, let's take a look at this move here. Look at this.
Looks to the outside. Baptista just, it's kind of the natural line there to watch.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
That's what happened.
Wow.
Yeah,
well,
he
already
got
had a little bit of damage, and that one could have probably really clouted that left rear suspension. We'll have to watch for that to see if he's got any handling issues. We saw the bodywork torn in the opening lap fracas.
There's Frankie Montecalvo. Tell you, went and had a chat with him, and you know, he's just so open and willing to chat with you about stuff. Just fantastic. And I think he was really, you know, he said this car has got great potential. It's just not unlocked right now with the BOP they had for the first race. Clearly, it's a bit better now. And here comes Gottsacker working on Baptista. And when you see now everybody just sort of driving away from him, you certainly have to think that that car's got some sort of an issue.
Yeah, quite possibly. And I think for Frankie Montecalvo, he said the car on an open lap are going to lay down a lap time, but it's the raceability, as we call it, in terms of having straightaway speed to make some move was the issue. Today it looks like it's a little bit more racy, and he's loving life right now.
Yeah, now that we'll see if he's able to get down and run down Parker Chase.
Well, his last lap was about 3 or 4 tenths quicker than all of the leaders, so he's certainly got pace right now. But as we've seen before, passing around this race circuit is not easy.
Well, he's already caught him. I mean,
he's up on the wheel for sure.
Yeah, you bet. I think he's inspired with how the car is working.
Oh, look at that red tail
on
Lawson. That will start to become an issue for the chief stewards, because if that suddenly comes adrift right in front of someone else and their front wheels get up on that, they're going to go for a ride. So I think for Lawson Archenbach, he's hoping that tears away pretty quickly. Otherwise, he may get the call to pit lane.
Yeah, you might want to get on a curb here and see if you can get that thing to
start
rip
using
off.
those curbs as much as you can. See if you can get that thing to tear away from the chassis. So if that gets under the front end of that Janetta, Parker Chase will have an issue.
Yeah, catches those wheels, can't turn, the like. So it's a 4-car battle right now up front for the second round of the GTS Championship. Then a little bit of a gap and a battle behind them starting to form up for 5th between Baptista, Gottsacker. But here comes Gaples, Kurtz, and Stacy. This is getting really tasty. I believe I've heard that before. So we're going to step away for just a minute here. We'll be right back with the finish here in the Pirelli World Challenge GTS Championship Round 2. All right, folks, while we're in break for CBS, back with you here on the web here in the number 14 of Stacy. You see a little bit of damage to that right front of Kurtz's 570S. It looks like it's more almost just like a little piece of padding or something that's flapping around. But look at Gottsacker now attacking on Baptista.
Yeah, this is a great battle, and I think we're going to see some new names emerge like Baptista in this championship this year, which is always so exciting. Gottsacker got a run there, but there's nowhere to go. Really impressed me here in this weekend, Baptista, just in terms of his racecraft, his savvy. Certainly we saw him cloud the wall coming on that front straightaway a couple of laps ago, but other than that, he's been doing a tremendous job.
Gottsacker now makes the move, looks down to the inside, but just not quite there, Cal.
That's what I like about Baptista. He's carrying a lot of speed there through the apex of turn 1, recognizing he's really feeling the pressure but not succumbing to it and making a mistake and getting too defensive. Oh, there we go. Gottsacker just got inside that curb a little bit more than Baptista, and you see the advantage that immediately gives you, because not only does it change the radius of the corner, but by sometimes carrying that bit more speed, it gets you in the sweet spot, the gear ratio, and the power band of the engine as well. So it's almost a twofer in terms of the advantage there.
Made it stick through. Now, problem is there, you just saw the margin that we've got from Gottsacker now up to Montecalvo. It's fairly sizable to the tune of some 5 seconds, and we are, what, 13 minutes left in this race, so he's got to be brutally fast right now. Kurtz looking at, and Jason Bell into the pits.
That's too bad. I mean, he was so pumped, like we talked about after yesterday's race, and you know, he was certainly pushing it hard here and had that moment coming out of 12, and now down into the pits. And Aquilani able to just ease away a little bit here again, Cal.
He is. Seems to be under control. And we saw yesterday, via the lap time that Lawson Archambault was suddenly coming back at him at the end. Andrew was watching his rearview mirror. He saw that. He was looking at his predictive times, and he said, I've still got some pace in this car. As we now see side by side Stacy.
Oh, wow.
Looks to the inside, but nice job by George Kurtz. He's gaining some confidence, getting a little bit wide there. Carried a lot of speed through turn 1, gets out in the grey. And he'll try and line him up here to get good exit speed, but Kurtz again, rolling speed. That's nice.
Yeah, I mean, that was a beautiful pass he put there. That was superb. There's that. It looks almost like tape, something like that, just flailing there a little bit. It's not a big issue, I don't think. So maybe it's a little piece of carbon. But he's certainly, you know, the difference we're seeing from George Kurtz from yesterday to today, and that's kind of what we talked about at the top of the show with the Pirelli storylines, was applied science. You know, everything you learned yesterday, now you can go out and have made some changes and see if it works, right?
Setup wise, knowledge wise, confidence wise, it all applies on day 2.
Yeah, bodywork has collapsed down, Cal, but it's not doing anything else at this stage. You know, it's not like it's breaking and flailing anywhere.
Well, decided to let him continue, so I assume the decision has been made. They're not going to make a call. But to me, it's a massive body piece, and if Parker's following him closely and that suddenly comes adrift and gets under his front wheels on a street circuit, it's not the best of news, obviously.
See that little twitch by Lawson when he went hard to the brake coming in? Is that piece of bodywork at the back?
Hard to say in terms of the aero effect of that, whether it's given it stability and now it's taken it away. It's always amazing as you see teams, particularly in Formula Car technology, they spend millions of dollars in terms of the aero and the wind tunnel, and someone will like bash the car up and suddenly run their fastest lap time.
Exactly.
Like aerodynamicists are just scratching their head like, how did that happen?
The only thing I'm thinking is if there's any kind of an extractor at the back of that car, you know, like a diffuser, it's a little bit more pronounced than some of the other cars, certainly. But with that laying down like that, it could be blocking the flow coming out, so he may not quite have the stick at the back of the car, and maybe a little bit looser, and that's why I was wondering if that might have been causing that twitch. Take a look here. Parker got a run that time, carried a lot of speed through the hairpin, but still in a straight line. And that's part of the balance of performance. When you got a car with a lot of power, it carries more weight, so it'll have straight line speed. So car behind it can roll speed through a corner, but if it can't get clean through, that ability to carry mid-quarter speed's a bit nullified, and then you just watch the car in front of you drive away a little bit.
Parker Chase, a little bit close here. As you said, Archambault definitely on threshold braking there. Oh, that's going to turn into tears if you try and make that one happen. So hard for the guy who's online to open up the door enough without it getting ugly. Just relating back to that early retirement for Clennon.
Yep.
It's a burst water pipe, so it shouldn't be too much damage-wise to the engine on that 570S.
Gotcha. Yeah, and it was interesting because, everybody was there with the fire bottles, but they kept looking, and apparently they never let one go because they couldn't find any flame, so that's a very good thing. Oh, boy, I'll tell you, Aquilani still happily bounding over the curbs.
Parker Chase, he's starting to tune it up a little bit.
Lawson's closed it up a little bit, though, on Aquilani, and this happened, as you pointed out, in the first round of the championship.
Does Andrew have enough in hand? Has he been managing this race enough to respond if he needs to? Lawson looking a little bit tailied there through the exit of turn 1. He's definitely pushing hard. This is where Aquilani is so good. I mean, Lawson is just not even touching that curve. And I'm a little surprised at that because he eats up pretty bad or a lot in turn 10 and 11. He doesn't want to touch it through there. So.
Yeah. And we've seen a couple of the crossbows that are willing to get up on it. It doesn't seem to be unsettling them too much. It's interesting.
And you got to think big picture. I mean, a lot of these drivers come into this weekend thinking, don't throw it away. Don't throw away a bundle of points for the sake of gaining 2 more. And as we keep saying, Lawson is the master in terms of winning championships. There's those types of decisions where he says, you know what, if I hit that carb too aggressively, the outside wall coming up the straightaway there after turn 3, there's not a lot of margin for error. And if you haven't really experimented with it, you know, it's tough to suddenly in the late stages start eating up a big curb like that. Andrew really used those formation laps yesterday to find his way through there. He said that was perfect. I realized I could use it and use it to my advantage.
It's interesting, when Lawson made the move to World Challenge, he did it into GT, and you know where he had his first GT race?
Right here, and he won, right?
You bet. Yep. A blue Porsche back in the day, but he has become just hugely associated with GM and certainly with Black Dog and the Camaros here. And he and that team just have a synergy that just seems to be fantastic. And I mean, he's got tremendous skills, obviously. I'll tell you, everywhere else, Lawson looks like he's, you know, really can run right with Aquilani, but it's exit of 3. That's where he just, and it's that curb, isn't it?
That's right, and Andrew said at the very last lap yesterday, he got very close to that exit wall. He said, don't throw it away, don't throw it away. You're getting in the part of the racetrack where you're good, just run your lines, hit your marks, and that's exactly what he did to bring it home. But he had to, like, you know, remind himself, don't make a mistake. You've got it in your grasp here, just bring it home. Bit more steering input from Lawson Aschenbach there through that final couple of turns. So maybe he's lost the balance of the car just a little bit.
Yeah.
Again, we don't know the aero effect of the rear bodywork being torn up.
Ooh, there's that twitch again.
Yep. He's definitely pushing deeper in there.
Faded a little bit, hasn't he? About 3 seconds back now.
Yeah, he has. These last laps were a good half second or more off of the leaders. Nonetheless, he'll have had fun here this weekend. It'll be great to see him back in this class for a few more outings this year. He's obviously got other racing programs he's working with this season.
And we might see him, from what I heard, that it's possible he might be back running in GTA or Pro-Am in Sprint X too. So that will be nice. Former GTA champion. Welcome back, everybody. We are into the final few minutes here. 5 to go at the St. Petersburg Grand Prix presented by Kasich. It is the second round of the Pirelli World Challenge GTS Championship. And in ways, it's a little bit of a mirror image from what we saw in round 1. Late in the going, Aquilani leading Aschenbach. Third place is the different player here. Today, it's Parker Chase. That car has stayed underneath him. He didn't have the sensor failure, and he's in this hunt.
He really is. Big disappointment, of course. Jade Buford is not part of this mix. Electrical gremlins on the pre-grid means that he didn't see the start, but Lawson Aschenbach seemed like he was comfortable with a runner-up finish yesterday. He wants more today. He's really pushing deep into that brake zone. Gets really taily there off of turn 1. He is pushing hard. This is where Aquilani is so good. He used that inside curb. Watch Aschenbach. He's a lot wider. Parker Chase kind of in between the two lines.
I like that. Taily. Boy, he's closer, though.
That's
about as strong as Lawson's been out of 3, isn't it?
It is.
He really floated it to the wall that time. He was not shy about exiting all the way out there.
On debut with his Camaro GT4 platform, had the pole. I know he'd love to walk away from this weekend with a victory as well. Didn't happen yesterday. He's close to it right now.
Yeah, he's definitely throwing it around a little bit more at this stage. I think he knows he's got something. A little piece of that came off.
You can see him there. He's really floating out wide. It's really a high commitment turn, that kink down the back straightaway, and he's using all of the road and more.
Well, I'll tell you, though, the exit
awesome shot,
isn't it? He just is amazing on those curbs, and the car just works when he does it.
It's a couple of tenths quicker than Andrew on the previous lap. A pretty even match this time over. I'll take a look at the clock.
Montecalvo's made up just I don't think Montecalvo's made up any ground to Aschenbach. I think Parker's just drifted back a little bit, so it looks like Montecalvo's closed. Then it's a big gap back to Gottsacker, Baptista, and the rest of the field here. So it really has come down to a three-way battle, and maybe here in the last few minutes now turning into a two-way battle, Cal.
Yeah, Aquilani extends the lead over the previous lap by about a car length, and you talk about Montecalvo, he suddenly responded. He's running laps the same pace as the leader, whereas the previous 2 or 3 is about half a second off, so there's still some pace left in that crossbow, but as you said, he's dropped off the lead pack a little bit. I wonder how aggressive Parker Chase is going to be here. The balance on the cars looked good all weekend long. They had those gremlins yesterday, which really hurt them in terms of a result and a podium finish. How much will he push things here on Lawson Aschenbach?
Yeah, well, suddenly Aquilani has been able to open that margin up by a couple of car lengths again. We are heading into, by the time we get to start finish, we'll be right around 2 minutes to go, so that's probably this lap and a couple more, possibly.
And you could hear it coming off that turn 10 era. You could hear Andrew light up the tires a little bit.
Yeah.
Any grip he's got left in those Pirelli P0s he's going to use up to try and get victory. Aschenbach really wide coming off the final corner there, trying to get good exit speed and a run on Aquilani down this front straightaway. How deep will he take it? He was dancing on that brake pedal before.
Yeah, he really opened the wheel.
How tight he is. He's closed up.
He is.
The key is right now, Andrew just has to think about yesterday. Hit your marks. Use this curb and get your advantage. Right there, you can see it. He just gaps him immediately through the apex.
And Parker watching, hoping, and a ways back, Montecalvo. We're getting a report next time by start finish, white flag. So this lap and one more. That's the amount of time Aschenbach has to try and work some magic. And at the same time, make sure he doesn't do anything to steal second place points. If he can't get around him here, that's got to be a somewhat uncomfortable position to want to win and the like, but know that if you push too hard and something happens and you lose second place points and you're there for the championship, at what point? Ooh, look at that!
Yeah,
Aquilani is just he
lap.
said enough. We're going for it.
Yeah, he's just getting the hammer down as soon as he can.
Yep, you don't need these Pirellis for another day.
That's right. They're going to be thrown in the bin, that's for sure. These boys have used up. Look at that, Aschenbach, just like the previous lap. He's really opening up his hands, which allows him to get to the power a little bit earlier, coming off that final corner, trying to get a run, trying to get in the draft. They seem pretty even down this front straightaway. Aschenbach has taken it in extremely deep into turn 1, as he's done here throughout the second half of this race.
You saw the white flag. This is it. Final lap of round 2. GTS presented by KO. And a problem. That's Cameron Majari in the number 7 Krug Sport car, and he's gotten into the barrier. He's got, looks like, fluid coming out of the front as well.
That's through the high-speed kick. That is a really hairy spot on the racetrack for traffic coming through now.
Yep. And we're getting reports we are full course caution.
That's a shame, because shame for him and also a shame for the battler for the lead of this race to take the sting out of the tail. It's been a tremendous event. And Andrew's just got to stroke it home now and get it to the finish. They'll be on the radio telling them there's a problem on the exit of the King. That's why he slowed down so much.
And for Lawson, I don't know that Lawson really actually had anything for him. He needed a mistake, which Aquilani doesn't do often. But let's take a look and see what happened here with Cameron. Right behind. Ooh.
Oh, I'm not sure if Barkey got to the inside of him there, whether that was a pass and he just got out in the grey and couldn't get it turned in.
He certainly was wide to turn in, wasn't he, for whatever reason. And you get out there in the, what's the phrase, clag. You just lose the grip here. So here we go. Aquilani is going to sweep in terms of wins on the weekend. This one may be a little anticlimactic with the finish under caution. No option, had to do it. So Andrew Aquilani doubles up here at St. Pete.
Ford 5.6, as we said at the start of the show. There it is. 3 years in a row, Ford Mustang has swept both GTS races here.
Yeah,
amazing.
Fantastic. Well, I'll tell you, this car, this track, and certainly Aquilani, a great driver, but this package just seems to be right for this facility here, and finishing up with a little donut. Absolutely wonderful. So Aquilani, Aschenbach, and Chase the podium. Montecalvo will be 4th, and Gottsacker able to hang on and complete the top 5. Fantastic stuff. When we come back, we'll hear from our winner and take a look at some very crucial specialty awards here. Stay with us.
All right, folks. Well, thank you so much for joining us here on the Global Webcast. We appreciate it. Again, the GTS category this year presented by Kasich, putting on another great show. Aquilani, Aschenbach, Chase, just a fabulous run. We talked about the top 5. Ricardo Baptista, damage and all, hanging on to 6th over Tony Gaples in the 2nd of the GT4 Camaros. George Kurtz in the 570S, hanging on for 8th. Nate Stacey in 9th, and Cameron Castles in the 10th spot. And that's unfortunate because that Barkey and the moment there for Cameron Castles, that was, for Cameron Majari, they were battling for 10th. So Cameron Majari, first time in that new Porsche yesterday, really improving today as well. So some good stuff. We are looking forward to a fantastic season of racing. Next round for the GTS machines, rounds 3 and 4, will be unfolding at Virginia International Raceway. It's been a long time since the Pirelli World Challenge Championship has raced at that venue. It is glorious. Make sure and tune in. We have one more race for Pirelli World Challenge this weekend here at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, presented by Kasich. It is tomorrow afternoon, and it is the second of the 2 rounds for the GT category. And to watch it live tomorrow, you want to tune in to YouTube. The race unfolds about 3:15, so I would guess coverage will start around 3 o'clock. It will be carried live on YouTube. So make sure and check it out, and we look forward to calling it for you. For Calvin and for Jeff Lepper providing us some great information down at Pit Lane, I'm Greg Creamer. Thanks so much, and have a great rest of your day.